my fourth area was this area, like I said, called Cowgoy. And I transferred there, and my companion was very quiet. It was kind of a learning curve for him to be able to speak to people. And so I'm too social for my own good, and so I was like, okay, well, at least it was so scary for me to speak, even though I'm social, so I was like, okay, I'm going to try my best. But I remember I said, can you show us our area book? I was like, let's look at our area book. Like, who do we have? Because ours are on our iPads in our mission, and we'd sync them with Wi-Fi to update them and see what we had. I remember looking, and we had like no one. Like total with progressing, other, new, and potential, maybe like 4. And none of them are progressing. None of them are really interested. And so we tried meeting with them, didn't want to meet, and I was like, oh my gosh, we have no one. And so, and we had one man on there, though, that they said that they did want to meet. And we met with him a few weeks later, and it was actually amazing. Just had a very sincere desire to learn the gospel. And he ended up committing to be baptized. And he had to meet with our mission president because he used to be in the mafia in Japan, and that's just like, you got to meet with the mission president for things like that just to make sure that they're okay legally and that he can do it, and just completely changed his life around. It was a really cool experience. But I remember at his baptism, the day before his baptism, we didn't have one person coming. And it always stresses in preaching my gospel to invite someone to baptisms. And I would stress that so much, like bring someone, if you can get any investigator to come to a baptism, because it's such a rare but treasured experience in Japan, and especially if you can get someone there that they'll feel the Spirit for sure. And so we had no one. And I was like, we only have 3 other people. We already asked them, so there was like literally no one to ask. So we tried meeting people on the street, but we hadn't found anyone. And I remember being a little discouraged, kind of, I was so excited that we had a baptism. I was on top of the world for that, but still kind of a little sad. But we went to the church to sync our iPad, and all of a sudden over 350 names appeared on our area book. And I remember being like, what is this? And they were basically all women. I remember, we don't teach women usually. If it's a woman, we hand it over to the sisters. Unless there's no sisters in the area, then we try to teach them with a man present. If it's a family, then that's fine. But I remember being like, what is going on? And I called the mission home. I said, hey, we just got, because we had no sisters in our area. There hadn't been sisters in there for about 2 years. And I was like, why are we just getting these names now? Like, did you send them over from the mission home? Like, oh, no, I have no idea. That's way weird. Like, no, we didn't do anything here. We don't like have access to that right now. So it's like, I guess just, miracle. I was like thinking, wow, 2 years later, they just randomly came through. And so I went home. We went home to our apartment. It was 8:50. We had like 5 minutes left, 8:55, and I wanted to contact one person. So we went home to get out of the rain. And I was like, okay, there's 350 people. We have 5 minutes. I want to call one person. So I started scrolling, and I went past the progressive. I didn't feel prompted to call anyone. I went past the new. I went past the other, and didn't feel prompted to call any of them. I went past the potentials, didn't feel prompted to call any of them. And then I scrolled down to the not interested and saw one name of this woman named Maki. And I don't know why, I just felt prompted to click on it. I clicked on it, and it was like, yeah, her description, like she doesn't really have any interest in the gospel. She thinks the missionaries are nice, but not really. She said she has no interest, like desire to learn right now. I don't know why that was the name I felt prompted to call. And so before I called, I remember saying a prayer and saying, Heavenly Father, what do I need to do? What do I need to say? Please help me to get get one person to come to this baptism. And all that I felt from the Lord, which was exactly what this person needed, was just to show as much kindness as possible. And when I try to speak very kindly, my voice goes up. I'm like, how are you doing? Like, how was your day? And so I remember calling her. I was like, Maki, how are you doing? And she's like, oh, like, who is this? I'm like, oh, it's the missionaries. And she's like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to you in like 2 years. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, we just got your number and I named the sisters that had taught her. Like, yeah, we got their number from our friends. Like, you know them? Like, yeah, like, oh yeah, we just got this number from their phone list, and we wanted to call you. Have you ever been to a baptism? And she's like, yeah, actually, my friend's a member. I've been to one with her daughter a few years ago. I'm like, oh, like, how was it? And so it was actually a really cool experience. I was like, Mark, we'd love if you came this Sunday. It's such a cool experience, and you'll be able to feel a really special feeling. And we really know that you'll be able to know that God's there. Would you want to come? And she's like, maybe. Like, what time is it? And I was like, 8:30. And she's like, yeah, no. She's like, that's so early. It's Sunday. I'm sleeping in. Like, there's no way. I was like, oh, really, please? And she's like, I was like, well, I'll make you do it. If you wake up, we try to come. She's like, yeah, I'll try. And I remember hanging out being like, okay, I shouldn't really sound like she's coming, but I tried. And so a little disappointed at that moment. But then Sunday morning, this woman, she calls, right, like at 8:25. And I was like, hello? She's like, yeah, I think I'm like downstairs from like your church building. Is this here? And I was like, yeah, like come on up. We're on the second floor. And she came in and she walked in. I was like, Maki? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, my name's Elder Aiken. She's like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. I'm like, yeah, come sit with us. And I don't think I mentioned what my name was on the phone. And she sat with us and went throughout. It was good. She brought her 2-year-old little daughter. Her 3 years old. Her name is Akari. And it was so awesome. But her daughter was crying the whole time. So she couldn't really focus. And but I was trying to talk to her, get to know her. And she was kind of like confused the whole time. Like talking to me, and I didn't know why. It was like way interesting. But then we go downstairs to the baptismal font, where Mizuguchi was getting baptized, and all of a sudden she leans over to me and she's like, wait, excuse me, like Elder Aiken, but where's the person I was talking to on the phone with last night? And she's like, oh, that was me. And she goes, wait, you're not a woman? And I go, oh, no. And she's like, oh, I thought I was talking to the sister missionaries all last night. I thought you were a sister. You're not a woman? I was like, oh, okay, cool. And all the members heard it and just were dying. They literally like thought I was a woman. She literally, and it was like, okay, cool. She thought I was a sister Aiken. That was the worst. And I remember like literally wanting to cry. I remember like, oh, Sister Aiken, how are you doing? I'm like, dang it. It was like the worst. But it was really interesting because my prompting to pray, all I felt was just to be as kind as possible. And so I just used my kindest voice, which is really high-pitched apparently. But she said, no, that's actually really interesting because if I thought you were like an elder, I'd never met the elders, I only met the sisters. I thought you were the sisters kind of just like calling after a few years. She said, I never would have come. Like I only came because I thought you were a sister, that I was re-inviting me the sisters that I'd met 2 years ago. And I was like, oh, really? Well, that's a miracle. That thing like kind of like not like the best, but it was like, okay, whatever works. And we started meeting with her, and it was amazing. She had a really powerful experience where we challenged her to pray after the first lesson. She agreed to meet with us the next week. She was so excited. And as she went and prayed, she said that from behind her, she heard a voice say, Watashi no tokoro ni kinasai, which in English means come unto me. And I remember just beginning to cry when she told me, because I called her, just daily contact. I called her the next day and wanted to say, hey, thank you so much for being with us. You know, it was so awesome to have a lesson with you. And she goes, Elder Aiken, I prayed. And I was like, how'd it go? She goes, I heard a voice. I remember just being really silent, very in shock. I'd never met anyone who'd actually gone through an experience like this. And she told me what the voice said. And I said, Maki, who do you think that is? And she goes, I think that was God speaking to me. And I says, I testify, I promise you it was. And do you know what that means? Like, I knew that she knew what it meant in Japanese, but I was like, can we meet with you this weekend? She's like, yeah, I'd love that. She came in, and we pulled out the scriptures of Matthew 28:11, and she said, come unto me, all you that are heavy laden, I will give you rest. And she just began to cry. I said, oh my, it's written in the scriptures. Like, this is the word of God. And I said, yes, that was his voice speaking to you. This is like his journal. And he's just spoke to you one-on-one, just to you. He wants you to come home. and coming to him, and she was just sobbing. And from there on, we started teaching her, and she started progressing. She was going through a very emotional time in her life, and that was why she was ready then. She had just was going through divorce. Her husband was abusive, and 2 years previous, she was really happy, and that's why she wasn't ready. She's like, no, I don't need this. But she hit a trial and realized that she did need God in her life, and there had to be something more. And it was so humbling, that lesson I learned, that that sometimes you just have to wait. Sometimes they're not ready right then. And we began teaching her, and then I transferred, and I was devastated. I was so sad. And I heard that, and sisters actually had just rejoined the area after 2 years. And after that, me and Maki became so close. She's like said, Eldrick, I don't know why, I just feel like I can trust you. And when I transferred, she no longer met with the elders, and the sisters came, and it was kind of hard, and I transferred to the island, to Sado, and the sisters called me, and they said, Elder Aiken, like, how did you teach her? Like, she's not really answering her calls. And I said, I remember trying to get some advice. I remember rambling for like 5 or 10 minutes, feeling like I was giving good advice, and all of a sudden it just hit me. I said, well, you know that she cuts hair, right? That's like, she's a hairstylist, that's her job. I said, no, we didn't know that. I said, I bet if you just said, hey, Maki, we need a haircut. Can we get a haircut from you? I bet she'd be ecstatic. And that's how you can get to know her and she'd get her trust. And they did, and began teaching her. And then this is a very tender time in the moment, because this is when my hip started killing me, and I started getting nerve pain down the back of my knee, down to my toes. And it was just hurting so painfully. And I remember like realizing that I'd like have to leave the island. And I remember thinking, like, am I changing the Lord's will? Like, is this really his will for me? That I'm like transferring, I'm supposed to be here, like this is where I was called to be. Like, can I not just overcome this pain? But I remember praying so sincerely, and him just saying, everything's going to be okay. This is what you're supposed to do. And I got transferred to Sakado, back to the same district as where I was teaching Maki, a neighboring area. And as I went back, my mission president gave me special permission to teach with the sisters. And Maki started progressing again, and I got to baptize her and her 11-year-old son. And it was just the most powerful experience. I just remember as I baptized her and she came up just weeping. And I went to change and was just crying uncontrollably, because I felt like this was the family. My dream was to baptize a family. And I felt like this was like everything I dreamed of. And this is why I was called to Japan. I remember just crying so hard. And it was just such a cool experience, realizing that even from all the way over here in America, when we're called to Japan, that we're called there for a reason. There are people waiting for us. And that there are friends that in the pre-earth life, when we got assigned to come to America and they were called to Japan, that they said, my friend, please come and find me. And I felt like she was one of my friends I was meant to find, and it was so powerful. Another one that was really powerful for me was, it all revolved around that hip injury, actually, where I ended up seeing so many miracles in that area. And even though I felt like I was, I basically changed God's will, that I just so many testimony books that this is why I was supposed to be there, and was able to see 4 baptisms in that area, which was so powerful. One of my favorites ever was this, a member, she was active, she had her 8-year-old son, and they were coming to church together, but husband was a non-member and very against the church. She could go to sacrament meeting with him, but they had to come home immediately. They could never meet missionaries. Home teachers and visiting teachers were not allowed at their home. She was not allowed to go to any activities during the week. It was basically sacrament, sometimes maybe the block, but that was like the extent of her connection and her time spent with the church that he had outlined for her. When she'd pray, she was so faithful, the returned missionary, only member in her family. And when she'd pray with her little son, he would make noises to disrupt from the spirit when they'd pray. He'd turn up the TV, he'd cough, he'd make noises in the home, anything like with the dishes maybe, just to cause noise so they couldn't feel the peace when they pray. And she was thinking about divorce. It was really hard for her. But I remember one time she went, and at church, we just felt prompted to go up and say hi. We're like, hi, like, what's your name? I haven't met you yet. And we got her name and we met her. And she's like, Elders, yeah, like, she actually, no, I was wrong. Actually, she came up to us. That's right. She felt the prompting to come to us. And that's when I said, oh, we don't know you. And she's like, Elders, what are you guys doing? I go, what have you guys been up to lately? I was like, oh, we're actually starting a new English program. We're teaching this new English class. You should come. Like, it's awesome. And your English is way good. Like, I didn't know English so well. And started talking to her. She's like, you know what? I'm going to come. I was like, awesome. And we didn't know the drama behind it, that her husband would definitely say no. But she went, and it was on Wednesday night, and she went home, and that night said, I'm going on Wednesday. He's like, no, you're not. He's like, yes, I am. He's like, no, you're not. And Wednesday came, and still, I'm going. No, you're not. And the little son comes out dressed in his karate outform, and like, what? You're going where? Oh, I'm going to an English class. I want to go. And he's like, I'm going to go with Mom. He's like, no, you're not. And he starts crying, and he's like, why are you crying? He's like, you have karate anyway. He's like, I hate karate. I lose every time anyway. And it was like the cutest little thing. And the dad's like, fine, we're all going then. She's like, fine. And they all came, and he just put up this wall. He would not talk to us directly. If he wanted to say something, he'd speak through his wife, and we just broke his wall. We were just trying to be friends, like, hey, how are you doing? And this other elder Reed, he like would teach slang, and he'd teach every week we like just like a fun word every time we're talking English. I was like, hey, today we're gonna teach sick bro, and he's like, and it was just the funniest thing. Like when you show someone something that's like that's really cool, like, oh, sick bro, and he's like, sick bro, like began saying like under his breath, and thought it was funny. We slowly just broke him down, and us 4 elders spent the next 6 months, the last 6 months of my mission, just dedicating everything to this man. Just becoming friends with him, and we became such good friends. Never taught the gospel. He would not have it. But just being friends, teaching English, becoming very close with him and his family. And there's little milestones, little miracles. He finally allowed us in his home. We're like, whoa. We went and we blessed the home. We prayed together. Before that happened, his wife asked for a blessing, and he said, can I sit in the room? We're like, yeah, sure. And when he got the blessing, he smiled, came like, oh yeah, like hugged us. And we're like, whoa, like so powerfully. He's just softened his heart. He felt as something special, as his wife like really wept as she received that blessing. And little by little, we became just like best friends. He didn't really understand sick bro, and so we'd be like, how are you doing? Sick bro. Like, okay, it's not really how you use it, but that's awesome. Like, yeah, roll with it, like, whatever. And so he called us Sick Bro Forever. That was the name of our family. She would call us, she just wept because of how much she was changing. And she calls her sons. And she would say she was our mom. And we went, and every time after our English class, we'd put our hands in a little circle and just go, Sick Bro Forever, and we like put our hands up, and it was so funny. But I remember the last Sunday mission, he allowed us to actually teach a family home evening in his home, and we taught a lesson. And I felt prompted my whole personal study that day. It was my last week of my mission. I was leaving on Wednesday. It was Tuesday. I wrote a letter in English to him, challenging him one time to take the lessons. When they first got married, she made him promise, even though he's very against church, she said, one time in our marriage, when the time is right, and I'm going to ask you, and you have to take the lessons one time, or I take a lesson. He's like, okay. It had been 11 years. He completely forgot about it, but I wrote it in English because he couldn't speak English, but she could, and I wanted it to be a couple thing. I wanted her to read it and translate it to him, so it was almost like it was them together as a married couple. And I was very nervous, but I asked her. It was funny. I was in their home, and I said, can I give this to him? I want to challenge him to read. She goes, let me think. And she walks in the other room and just prayed. And right there, just like left the room and turned off the light in the other room. And he was like, what is she doing? And she prayed and came back. He's like, yeah. So they went and dropped us off back at our apartment. I said, Satoshi, when we leave, please read this. And I put an envelope, and I put my name tag on it and sealed it with my name tag. I said, I want you to please read this. This is from me, just like a little goodbye letter. He's like, okay. And we just cried as we said goodbye. And then Wednesday morning, I got my bags, ready to go home. It was insane. I I just couldn't believe it. It was the fastest 2 years. I was like, how is this over? And I hugged the elders, went to the train station, and all of a sudden one of the elders gets a call, and like right before I'm leaving, like, hey, elder. I was like, yeah. He's like, it's Sister Ishi's on the phone. And I remember getting on the phone saying like, hello, and she said, Satoshi wants to speak with you. I was like nervous. I was so nervous. Like I was like, cause she didn't say it very happy. She's like, I was like, okay. And I didn't know what it was going to be. And he gets on the phone. He's like, Elder Aiken? I was like, yes. He's like, in your letter, you asked me something. That's what it translated to. Like, you requested me to do something. And I was like, yes. And he goes, Soshio, which means let's do it. And she just began like to cry on the phone. And we all just were in shock and just all hugged each other. And I was just beyond excited. And it was just, I just couldn't believe he agreed to take the lessons from those other elders. And I was like, elders, please, even though I'm leaving, please teach him. And just do it right. Do it at the right pace. Don't pressure him. Be very slow. And just go at his pace. Go by the Spirit and do what and pray how to teach him to his needs. And I was so excited. It was the best news ever. And I went home and I Skyped them. And like June 30th, and she's like, we need to Skype today. And I was like, okay. I need to talk to you today. I said I was busy. So I was like, so we were out shopping with my family. I'm home now. And I just kind of FaceTimed her on my phone. And she goes, hey, Satoshi wants to tell you something. He needs to tell you something. And he's like, Elder Aiken. I was like, yeah. And he goes, isn't July 2nd your birthday? I was like, yeah, it is. And he goes, can we Skype it on your birthday? I was like, yeah, I think we could do that. He's like, yeah, because I'm going to need you to say the closing prayer. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm going to get baptized on your birthday. I want to get baptized on your birthday. And I just started crying so hard in public that he got baptized. He received all the lessons and was baptized in a month. And he said, when's Elder Aiken's birthday? And they said, oh, it's July 2nd. And it was also Elder Reed's last Sunday. And he goes, I want to be baptized on that day because I want it to be a special day. And I got a Skype in for it, and I got to say the closing prayer, and it was just the most special day. And he's received the priesthood now. They went to the temple together before the Tokyo temple closed, and I'm going back in July to see them sealed in the Sapporo temple. And those are the experiences that I just, like, this is why I came here, and that were life-changing to me. And that was probably the most powerful experience. Those two experiences really changed my life, my testimony, and my mission for me.